Why avoidant people offer friendship instead of commitment. Have you ever had someone pull away from a romantic relationship only to turn around and say, but I still want to be friends? It's one of the most emotionally confusing things to hear. You were building something meaningful. You were sharing laughter, maybe intimacy, maybe even dreams of the future. And then suddenly they retreat. They look you in the eyes with warmth, but distance. They say they care about you, but can't give you what you want. So instead, they offer friendship. And it leaves you standing in the wreckage, asking yourself, why? Why do avoidant people offer friendship instead of commitment? Let's begin by unpacking this emotional puzzle. Avoidant people are not emotionless. In fact, many of them feel deeply, but they've built emotional walls so thick they can barely feel their own longing, let alone allow someone else inside. Love to them feels like a threat to their independence, their identity, or even their survival. They were often shaped by early environments where closeness was inconsistent, smothering, or unsafe. So they learned a dangerous lesson. If you want to stay safe, stay separate. But life is full of contradictions, and avoidant people still crave connection. They just want it on their terms. And that's where the offer of friendship comes in. To the avoidant person, friendship feels like a safe middle ground. It's emotional intimacy on a leash. They get to keep you close enough to feel comforted, but not so close that they feel exposed. They're not ready to sit in the vulnerability that commitment requires, but they don't want to feel your absence either. So instead of losing you completely, they offer the next best thing. But here's the problem. For someone who genuinely wanted love, real connection, and a future, this offer isn't a gift, it's a compromise, a painful, quiet downgrade. Now let's go deeper. When avoidant people say they want to just be friends, it's not always a lie. They often mean it. But what they're really saying is, I want to keep the part of you that feels good without dealing with the part of me that feels fear. It's an emotional buffet. They want the sweetness of your presence without the discomfort of vulnerability. They want access to your energy, your loyalty, your care, but not the accountability that comes with a committed relationship. So they offer friendship, not as a bridge toward intimacy, but as a fence to keep it at bay. And let's be honest, this friendship often isn't friendship at all. Not in the healthy, mutual sense. It's a holding pattern, a murky in-between where one person still hopes for more, and the other avoids the discomfort of letting go completely. It's emotional limbo, and it's exhausting. Especially if you have an anxious attachment style, this offer can feel like a trap disguised as kindness. You might think, if I stay close, maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll come around. Maybe I can love them enough to make them feel safe. But here's the hard truth. Love cannot cure avoidance. Proximity doesn't heal someone who's afraid of closeness. Avoidant individuals have deep-rooted defense systems. When relationships start to get emotionally real, when someone sees behind their mask or touches their fears, they hit the emotional eject button. And when they do, they often try to soften the blow by offering friendship. But this isn't real closeness. This is emotional rationing. They're giving you just enough to keep you tethered, but never enough to feel secure. It's a push-pull dynamic that leaves you constantly questioning your worth. Sometimes the avoidant offer of friendship isn't even about you. It's about them maintaining control. Because by staying in your life in a friendly capacity, they get to avoid guilt. They get to say, look, I care about you. I didn't abandon you. It helps them manage their image, both in your eyes and their own. And if they see you as someone who still provides emotional safety or validation, they'll want to keep that access. But remember this, if someone truly values you, they don't offer you a diluted version of love just to ease their own discomfort. And there's something else we don't talk about enough. Avoidants often don't understand the emotional harm they cause because they're not tuned into their own. They genuinely think that offering friendship is a kind gesture. They believe they're giving you something meaningful. But for you, it may feel like being handed crumbs when you were promised a meal. And this emotional mismatch, what feels fair to them versus what feels painful to you, creates a gap that only grows wider with time. Let's look at the emotional cost of accepting this kind of friendship. It keeps your hope alive in a situation that's already emotionally dead. You start managing your expectations. You shrink your needs. You accept half presence and call it connection. You may even convince yourself that being in their life, on any terms, is better than being without them. But slowly your self-esteem erodes. You lose touch with your boundaries. And worse, you start thinking that this is all you deserve. Now let's shift the lens. This isn't about demonizing avoidant people. Their behavior is rooted in real psychological patterns, often shaped by trauma or neglect. They're not villains. But understanding the roots of their behavior doesn't mean you have to stay entangled in it. You can have compassion for someone's wounds and protect your peace at the same time. You can say, I understand why you are the way you are, but I need more than you're willing to give. That's not cruelty, it's maturity. Some avoidance may eventually do the work. With awareness, therapy, and accountability, avoidant people can begin to heal. They can learn to trust. They can learn to stay, even when it feels scary. But they can't do that while being enabled. They can't grow if their avoidance is constantly rewarded with your emotional loyalty. Sometimes the most powerful lesson you can teach an avoidant person is that love cannot exist without mutual risk. That true connection requires presence, not just proximity. So when someone offers you friendship instead of commitment, ask yourself, is this a relationship or a rescue mission? Are you staying because you're honored or because you're afraid to walk away? Can you truly be friends with someone you still long for? Or are you just keeping hope alive in disguise? These are hard questions, but they're necessary. Because your time, your heart, your emotional energy, they are sacred. And they deserve to be invested in someone who meets you with clarity, not confusion. Let's also talk about the social conditioning that makes this situation more painful. Many of us were taught that staying connected is always the high road, that walking away is harsh or selfish. But staying in emotionally lopsided friendships is not noble. It's not healthy. And it doesn't help the other person grow. If anything, it allows them to avoid facing the consequences of their fear. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for both of you, is to let go completely, to let the silence teach them what your presence could not. There's also the risk of becoming the emotional placeholder. You're not the partner. You're not fully a friend. You're just there, available, supportive, waiting. And in that space, you stop living fully. You pause your own journey for someone who has already chosen the exit. And maybe you don't even realize how much you're hurting until one day they move on, for real. They meet someone else, and suddenly you're not even the friend they promised to be. You're just a chapter they quietly closed, and you're left wondering why you stayed so long in a story that was never going to be finished. So what can you do if you're in this situation right now? First, get honest with yourself. Journal it. Say it out loud. Name what you actually feel. If the friendship still feels like a second chance, you're not ready to be just friends. And that's okay. Don't force yourself into emotional neutrality you haven't earned yet. Second, give yourself space, real space. Not friendly text once a week space. Not checking their Instagram stories space. But silence, distance. Let your nervous system reset. Let the fog clear. And third, remember this. You are allowed to be loved fully. You are allowed to want a relationship that doesn't feel like you're constantly being asked to settle for less. You are allowed to walk away from someone who offers you a part of them when you're ready to meet someone who offers their whole self. This isn't about revenge. This is about reclamation, reclaiming your self-worth, your time, your emotional truth. If you're still thinking about whether to accept their offer of friendship, here's one final question to ask yourself. If someone new came into your life right now and treated you with full love, full attention, full presence, would this friendship with your ex still matter? If the answer is no, then it's not really friendship you're clinging to. It's unfinished hope, and it's time to let it go. Avoidant people offer friendship instead of commitment because it lets them stay emotionally adjacent to you without confronting their fears. But you don't have to accept that half-love. You don't have to live on the emotional sidelines of someone else's life. Real love doesn't retreat when things get deep. Real love leans in. Real love grows in the discomfort. And real love never asks you to be less just so someone else can feel more in control. You are not too much. You are not too needy. You are just someone who wants something real. Don't ever apologize for that. The right person won't offer you friendship when you're asking for commitment. They'll offer you their whole self without fear. Wait for that.